Babies should have their mother's milk running through their veins. When I was born, I had heroin swimming in my veins instead. But that's not why I'm dope. Childhood teaches you how to carry pain without dropping it. Teaches you how to shrink it into something you can fit into your pocket. My mom had a tumultuous addiction to heroin and cocaine, and she led a life of crime to support her habit. So everything from stealing to prostitution to fake checks and fake names and anything that she could get her hands on to support her habit. Now, there were weekly visits to the local jail, but she finally got convicted of an actual felony in 1991, and that was for possession of a controlled substance. And at that time, it was crack cocaine. She went to jail my sophomore year of high school, to the penitentiary, not to jail, but to the penitentiary. My sophomore year of high school, and she was released 2 days after my college graduation. So 2 days after my college graduation, when I was supposed to be celebrating this greatest achievement of my life at that time, I was driving to the Greyhound bus station to pick her up from being released from serving 6 years in federal prison. My dad played the role of stability. He was like peace in a relentless storm of chaos. Because there was so much going on around me, the opportunity to just kind of be a kid, to get the nurturing and the love and the support that I needed, came from my dad on a consistent basis.
Went to service shortly after I graduated college, and as a second lieutenant in the military police corps. And I went to airborne training, and from there I volunteered to go to Vietnam. I first met Rose at a club in North Dallas. And I saw her and I said, "Oh, what a pretty black woman." And from there I approached her and talked to her, and we started talking. And from there went on, and we sort of meshed. I really didn't know about drugs, so I didn't know what to look at. And I don't think she was so far gone at that time. She was not, in fact. I think she started doing, going to the doctor, getting nerve pills. I mean, back in those days, they were giving pills for Prelude, and they were giving other things for women for their nerves. And she started doing that, evidently. And from that, it went one thing to the other. And next thing I know that she was good at carrying herself as she was. You know, I didn't know what was going on. And put it like that, I didn't know.
I can remember visiting her in jail as young as 5, 6, 7 years old. And that was at the local county jail. I would always go to the jail with my grandmother. She was the one who would take me. And just because I was a kid, it didn't exempt me from, you know, the reality of what going to visit a jail was like, which meant that at 5 years old, I had to go through the metal detectors. I was subject to all the same, you know, security measures, the frisking, just as anyone else. And it felt violating and confusing all at the same time, because I didn't understand why we had to dump everything out of our pockets, put it in a plastic tray, and send it down a belt through an X-ray machine. It just didn't register. Growing up in my grandmother's house was really special. She was a woman of great discipline. I'm so grateful to her for what she provided for me and for how she nurtured and taught me some things about life and just about womanhood, and so much respect for her for the struggles that she had from growing up, in just a generation removed from slavery, and the struggles of being low income and still trying to provide for your children.
After Kim was born, I took custody of Kim, and Kim was in my care for quite a while, until she was, I guess, over 1. And Rose had turned over custody of Kim to me through the court at Rose's wish, knowing that I was a man and I worked and stuff all the time. And I said, and my mom had gotten sick. I said, well, okay, I decided to let Kim go stay with Grace. And that's when she started living with Grace.
Because Grace was a woman who demanded respect and excellence, it created a sense of ambition that can be both good and bad. I was purposeful in being successful, but not loud, in a way that I was achieving my goals, exceeding expectations, but not in a way that brought a whole lot of attention to me. So many people around me, it was always this heaviness, this negative energy of what I looked like, because there was so much emphasis on colorism during that time and not looking like a Black girl, but the little white girl. And so I got a lot of, bullying and frustration from that, as if I had any control over what I looked like. I was starting to understand that drugs wasn't just with my mom, but it was something that kind of ran through the bloodline. And though not all of it was extensive or hardcore, it was still something that existed. My ambition to succeed outside of those circumstances is what drove me to be successful, but not necessarily bring attention to myself, but to be strategic about how I was going to make a different path.
I was determined that she would be somebody, and determined that she would be educated like me and the rest of my family. And it worked.
The way I lived was a classic oxymoron. There was the good and the bad. And because I was so active, because I was so purposeful, because I was so intentional, I was exhausted, and all the time. There was a lot of performing. There was a lot of having to be two people at once all the time. I can remember being so exhausted, carrying the weight of the day, the weight of my circumstances, the weight of my living environment, and coming home in my cheerleading uniform and laying across the bed for just a second and just crashing out, only to be woken up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to have to go wash dishes. It almost felt like intentional correction, and overreaching intentional correction, because there were not a lot of opportunities for reprimand, because I was, like I said, intentional, trying to do everything the right way, but also trying not to alienate myself from the people that I was around.
Her family didn't really value education. I'm not saying her family, but her grandmother, because she hadn't been educated herself, evidently. So it was a hard climb.
Moments like being forced to wake up in the middle of the night to wash the dishes, or having to go to work with my grandmother to clean houses of an affluent family that she worked for, all felt like more than just help, more than just teaching me a lesson about life and about responsibility, but about putting me in my place.
She was a good daughter, and she obeyed, and she never really got in trouble. So no, and it was something to look back at and just be proud of.
First met Kim at Holy Trinity Catholic School in 5th grade. The first thing I noticed about her was that she was small. She was tiny, but really cute, really pretty. When we started to bond is because I defended her because the boys, they would stick pencils in her hair and sing this crazy song. I think me like threatening to kick their, you know what, is how we actually started our friendship.
Well, throughout my life, there were many women who played very pivotal roles in shaping who I became and what I experienced. And one of those women is my best friend, Tanya. We met as two little pigtail girls in 5th grade at Holy Trinity Catholic School. And I didn't know it then that we would be each other's lifeline, but that's exactly what she is and what she has been.
We were just always together. Like as soon as school let out on Friday to Monday morning, we were always together, never apart. In the summers, we shared homes, so we'll stay 1 week at her house, then 1 week at my house. So the first time I met Kim's mom, we were, of course, 9 and 10. We were in the projects, and this lady came up to her, and you know, she didn't look that great and stuff like that. And I just never thought about where is Kim mom during this time. And I don't know why my 10-year-old brain didn't ask, like, where's your mom? I think I just understood there was a reason why she lived with her grandma. And so this lady came up and was like, I'm going to get you something really nice one day. And so I looked at her and I was like, who is that? Not trying to be offensive, of course, but I just would never put that lady with Kim at that time. And so she just looked down and she was like, that's my mom. And that's when it finally like kind of hit me what she had been hiding that I never really noticed. And so just to kind of redirect the attention, I was like, let's go race her, let's go do something, because I could tell that that was a painful subject for her. And she was also kind of just embarrassed. And I wanted to let her know that even at 10, that it's not your fault, that's okay. Let's go just do something fun and take your mind off of it.
I don't ever think she wanted to be an addict. I think she settled for being one. And I say that because what incarceration does is it isolates people and it puts you in a box. And so if you have a criminal record, you go to jail. If you go to jail, you can't get a job. If you can't get a job, you can't get housing. So then you can't support yourself. So there's this endless loop and this endless cycle of obstacles and failure. So the only thing that she knew how to do was cope and cope with that. A lot of what allowed her to continue to go back to addiction was that she was a repeat. She was very guilty of not dreaming bigger. I mean, growing up in the 60s and 70s, there weren't a whole lot of opportunities for Black people, but especially poor Black people. So Stevie Wonder's A Ribbon in the Sky started to play, and I started to take my walk down the aisle, noticing all the family members and friends, my left and my right. But then just when I got to the end of the aisle, right before my dad gave me away, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. And I glanced over, and it was my mom. And she was standing there dressed in a lavender dress to match our theme, like everybody else. And she looked beautiful. She had found, she had styled her hair kind of straight. She had on a lavender dress, and she even had nail polish and a necklace. And those seemed like small things, but for somebody who lived on the street, she had gone through a lot of effort to put herself together that day. And on her face was a sense of pride, was happiness. So I was proud of her for her effort and everything that she went through to be there for me that day. So I met my husband, Kevin, in college. He was a graduating senior and I was a freshman. And he was the star football player on the team. When I met him, he was the most amazing guy, very attentive and calming and just very loving. Kevin and I had about a year together in college, and then he went on to start his professional career playing for the Dallas Cowboys. And that year, 1997, his rookie season just became the start of a very lengthy, successful professional career. He played for 10 years and then went on to start coaching youth football, which led into high school football and collegiate football at Jackson State University and now the University of Colorado. We have 3 young adult kids, and both of my boys play on the team with their dad at the University of Colorado. And then there's my daughter, Kennedy, who is the apple of my eye. And when she was born, I knew that I was supposed to be the mother to her that I didn't have. My experience as a daughter was very burdensome. There was always so much to carry, so much heaviness, so much loneliness, so much abandonment, a lack of safety. So when I became a mother myself, it was my job to create all of the moments and the joys and the experiences and the stability that I didn't have. I realized that I needed to forgive my mom, my family, my past, and everything that happened after she got released from prison. And I picked her up and I brought her home to my house in Louisville. And 2 weeks later, she disappeared. I realized in that moment that there was nothing that I could do to save her from herself. And so I had to let it go before I lost myself, because I had given so much of myself to wanting better for her.
Even if addiction is not your struggle, but maybe something else is, you will find yourself in this book. Because Dope Girl is not just a message about addiction, but it is a motivational nudge for all of us to live our truth and to do it afraid.
Compassion for yourself absolutely leads to compassion for other people. None of us are perfect, right? We all make mistakes, and it's all, as long as we have breath in our bodies, it's a growing process. It's a learning process.
Woven throughout her life story, you'll see patterns of wholeness and healing and forgiveness. The biggest factor is being able to simply forgive.
So let me know who had the best renegade. Y'all ready?
I'm gonna be honest. When I was living my life in drugs and gangs and stuff, I always had people telling me I need to do this, I need to do that.
Right.
But it hits different when you have somebody that lived that past, walked that journey, and they was surviving.
That's it.
And that's you.
Thank you, sir. We don't look like what you've been through, right?
Exactly.
Loving other people is loving yourself, and it's loving yourself and loving other people in the way that you wish you were loved, and having the ability to give to others what you didn't receive. That's the beauty of compassion. That's the beauty of learning and growing, is giving to others what you didn't receive.